Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another light novel review. Today we're going to be looking at The Most Notorious Talker Runs the World's Greatest Clan. Now, this is written by Jaki, Jaki, and illustrated by Fane, and the publisher here is 7 Seas. As you guys can see, this is the airship title, or an airship title. There you go. And that's what it looks like. And this is the oversized format. Again, I don't know how they decide what's oversized and what's the little one, but it's interesting. The demographic here is unclear to me. I'm guessing YA since it's a light novel. However, I don't see that there's a anime adaptation or a manga adaptation of this yet, so I wouldn't know which demographic it would fall under, based on that. And the genre here is pure fantasy. This is kind of more similar to Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon than it is like an isekai novel, so there you go. And this doesn't currently have any adaptation as far as I know. I'm sure there is going to be one at some point because this is a pretty good series. It has a lot of well-known tropes that might be very attractive to a lot of light novel readers, so I'm sure it's going to be popular soon. And the premise here is basically that there's this guy who happens to be the grandson of one of the greatest seekers in this world. Seekers in this world are actually basically dungeon busting heroes, essentially. They're people that work for the government, essentially, trying to clear out these these dungeons and these magical beasts that come from the abyss, which is this dark mana build-up thing that happens in the world. And they function in guilds and in clans and in teams. And our main character happens to be one of these seekers. He happens to be related to one of the greatest seekers ever. And the problem happens to be that he's not a physical type of seeker. He is rather a talker, which is a kind of buff-based seeker type. So he basically helps his team by buffing them, by and healing them and stuff like that, instead of by actually being part of a fighter class, right? And this leads to some sort of like discrimination against him, but he has this immense drive to succeed anyways, and so he happens to be kind of a little bit more shady than everyone else. And I actually think it's very, very interesting, very cool. I liked it quite a bit. However, I guess there were some elements here that I felt were a little too overdone for my taste, just because it's something that happens all the time in light novels. So there you go. Now let's look at the plot line here. I think that the plot line is pretty good. It's very solid. Basically, we open with the prologue, which describes where the character comes from, where his life has taken him, and what has led him to want to be a seeker. Then we get the first chapter, which tells us, it puts us right in the middle of a situation where a character is acting as a seeker. He's the talker for his 4-man team, and he's, providing all of these buffs as they take down this monster. They eventually finish, and then they go back into the city, they get their reward, and now they're kind of celebrating. Our main character is describing these ideas that he has about creating a clan so that he can achieve his dream in a roundabout way, because his dream was to be the strongest seeker ever. However, because of his natural class of talker, he can't actually achieve this because he doesn't have any ways of actually attacking anyone. And in this case means that he can't actively destroy monsters by himself, right? So he can't grow powerful in that sense. What he has to do instead is create the world's greatest clan in order to be the greatest by association, by the fact that he has created this clan, right? So it's a bit of a roundabout way of going about doing his dream, but I do like that he doesn't give up immediately, that he tries to do this. However, it seems like these people that he's on a team with are not actually the type of people that he thought they were, or maybe they were the type of people he thought they were, but he wasn't sure about it before. And eventually they basically betray him and one of the other party members. And so now he has to rebuild his team from scratch and eventually create his own clan from there. And most of the story focuses on him finding a new clan member or a new team member, party member, and developing his relationship with her as he goes about, doing the stuff that he needs to do in the city, before he finally heads out to do some more Seeker tasks. So actually, I think the plotline is really, really good, very interesting, very well written. It makes a lot of sense, and it actually shows us how, honest to his dream this character is. But he doesn't happen to be this like very goody two shoes shonen protagonist type. He's very much definitely a like an edgy light novel main character, right? Like someone from Ari Ferretta, or someone from what's it called, Failure Frame, like one of those characters. These like cast out guys that have to deal with things underhandedly in order to achieve their goals. However, it's not because he has been slighted or anything, but rather because he's just like intelligent and realizes that, there's no way for him to actually succeed without having to do these things. So I think it's a very interesting way of looking at it. I do like this character because he is a good person in the end, right? But he does understand that he has to go about life in a way that is maybe pretty, not edgy, but sketchy to the average Joe, right? And I think that's really, really good. So I like that. The series, the plotline, the action, everything about it is good so far. So definitely want to check out Volume 2. I was actually thinking I was going to like it initially, but I realized that, yeah, I do like it. I think it's really good once I finish the volume. So, yeah. In terms of characters here, we have 2 or 3 that are important. We have Noelle, who's our main character. We have Alma, who happens to be this dark-skinned character here. She happens to be the granddaughter of an assassin type guy, and she becomes friends with Noelle after the debacle he has with his party members, and joins his party as a way to kind of also achieve her own dream in a sense. And then we have other characters like Koga, who is a slave from the Eastern country, which is basically, he's Japanese in this medieval fantasy world. And he is a slave that kind of catches Noelle's attention. We have Pinocchio, who is a kind of Joker character who happens to be part of the mafia families of this city. And then we have Gambino, who happens to be this like berserker character who is also part of these mafia families. And we get a lot of like political machinations between Pinocchio and Gambino and Koga and Noelle that I think are really fun, very interesting. Most of the best parts of the light novel are definitely when he's dealing with Pinocchio and Gambino and the criminal underground of the city that he's in. So I like that. I thought it was really good. In terms of world building here, I think that it's interesting how this like abyss develops. So basically, as far as we understand it, mana freely flows in this world, right? And when mana settles and converges and starts to join itself, like combine, it basically creates this area of darkness, this area of negativeness, where creatures from the abyss happen to appear. And so these abyssal creatures basically are using these mana settlements as like portals, essentially, and coming over. And seekers are the people that are able to battle these situations. So really cool stuff. I like that a lot. I also like that seekers are a situation that occurred naturally due to these things, and that is something that everyone can do as long as you have the right class for it. So technically, every person in the world has a class, like a thing that they are naturally gifted at, that they can develop via gamelet type power-ups and stuff. But they can also have professions that have nothing to do with that. And there's different ways that you can develop these ideas. So I think that was really good. And I really love the politics of the city underground and the, behind the scenes stuff that happens in these very seedy, like, medieval, maybe almost Renaissance-esque cities. So I think that's really, really cool. I like that a lot. I also really just like that Noelle is involved in these because he just happens to have a lot of connections in the city. So I think that's cool. In terms of the artwork here, I think it's pretty good. I like it quite a bit. I like both the colored images and the non-colored ones. Sometimes it happens that I don't like the uncolored ones as much, but in this case, I think they work really, really nicely there. This guy looks like a JoJo character, but I promise he's not. I'm pretty sure that's Finocchio, if I remember correctly. But yeah, usually it's just like showing a character in a kind of static pose. The few times that there's action is actually pretty good as well. Let me see if I can find one here. But generally, I think the artwork is pretty good. There you go. That's an action scene right there. Pretty good stuff. She still looks like she's in a static pose, but at least there's some, you know, lines here to indicate motion. So there you go. In terms of fan service, there's a bit. However, it is mostly in the written form. It's not necessarily like, hey, here's some really cute, you know, anime girl illustration in the middle of the book. It's more of the, like, Alma and Noelle's relationship being a little funky and odd, and kind of developing this innuendo-filled conversation between them. So there you go. If you don't like stuff like that, maybe don't read this. But I mean, the characters are all like properly aged. So there you go. And it really isn't that big of a deal. It's just kind of a comedy bit. So there you go. But if you like fan service of that sort, don't read this. In terms of rating, I think this is a 4 out of 5. I think it's really, really enjoyable, really good. However, there's nothing about it that feels all that special. This is not really any different from Failure Frame or Arifureta or even, you know, other kind of series that are similar, like, you know, what's it called? Danmachi, dungeon, Girls in a Dungeon, right? So I don't know. I think this is very much a Danmachi derivative type of series with some elements of that like edgy isekai guy put into it, and I don't dislike it. I just think that it hasn't really done anything exemplary. It hasn't really done anything new. However, what it has done very nicely. So there you go. I definitely recommend you read it if you like stuff like this. If you like Danmachi but wish that, you know, the main character wasn't so nice and good, maybe check out something like this. So there you go. I don't think that there's really any titles that I can think of that are exactly similar to this, because most of the titles that I can think of that are similar are actually isekai. And the isekai aspect definitely changes how you feel about the story, because it kind of changes the way that the character develops, right? So I think that it's not exactly the same, but yeah, they're, like I said before, Danmachi, Failure Frame, Arifureta, stuff like that would probably be similar and be your taste if you you know, like this, or you would like this if you like those. So there you go. But that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.